If you do turn, we will roll many, many times and become very, very injured. Last year, during our VINwiki Sway North American expedition in our 4 off-road prepped Porsche Cayennes, Christopher Michaels took one southwest and met up in Utah with the team from Matt's Off-Road Recovery. Now, you may be familiar with their content. It is amazing, but Christopher took them out in the desert and they got stuck in the sand for pretty much a whole day, all of the fleet of Matt's Off-Road Recovery. And it made for a great video, and I'll put a link in the description for you to see it. But that started a relationship and some dialogue between us and Matt and his channel. And one of the things that came up was an invitation to the off-road games. Now, this was an idea where they were going to take non-off-roading YouTubers, pair them with an off-roading YouTuber, and we would go and compete on a series of challenges. And I talked about the invitation in a previous video, but what I love about it most is that this represents Matt, his team, and his channel coming together with all of their sponsors to put out the absolute best content they possibly can. Similar to what we do with Auto Tempest for Car Trek and other things we do here on VINwiki. But I had no idea what I was in store for, not only for the off-roading, but significantly in the magnitude of the event. Now, we were paired with Bleepin' Jeep, a channel based in Knoxville, Tennessee, run by another guy named Matt, a hilarious guy, soft-spoken, but a ton of fun. And so we had gone up to Windrock to do some practice in his Jeep. Now, it is barely a Jeep. It is a fully built external cage rock crawling buggy, I believe you're supposed to call it. And I will say many things wrong in the course of this video, but it was incredible what this thing was capable of. It just goes over anything. It doesn't get stuck anywhere. And he told us as we were practicing that what we would experience out in Sand Hollow in Hurricane, Utah, not Hurricane, I've been corrected to, was going to be even more impressive because apparently those rocks were going to have more grip. And he was exactly right. So we got out to Utah on this amazing land, and there's all these different trails over all these rocks, and I was just in awe, not just of the mountains and the vistas and the views and the roads and everything that I've enjoyed on exotic cars blasting through the state, but in the crowd that Matt drew. There were more than 5,000 tickets sold long before the event, and they had more than 10,000 people and all these vendors, all these sponsors that came out to watch the show. Now, I had no idea what the show was going to mean. I'd heard that we were going to go up a trail and it was going to be somehow competitive, and there would be a second round if we advanced where we could do a different trail or a different thing. I showed up, met up with Matt, Christopher's there as well, and we are just along for the ride. I have never done any off-roading to this level other than the little bit of practice that I did with Matt in Windrock. And I mean, I had no idea. I just knew that it was incredible to meet Matt, meet his team, and meet the sponsors that were making this happen. And I want to bring some more attention, if you don't mind, to Auto Tempest for supporting this video and this entire month of content here on VINwiki. We love Auto Tempest for so many reasons. It is the most powerful way to shop for your next car because they give you all the results from all the major listing sites in one place, but they also have just released a new app for iOS and Android. So not only can you enjoy Auto Tempest on your computer in a browser, but also in the palm of your hand. So please right now, go download it, put it on your phone, leave them a great review, and I know that you'll love starting your day looking for your next bad automotive decision like me in the Auto Tempest app. They actually have plenty of good cars there as well. So we're out in Utah the next morning to get ready for the off-road games. Now, Chris is emceeing most of the event alongside Laura from Laura Farms, a farming YouTuber. We also had Devin from Legal Eagle and an amazing array of off-road YouTubers along with every other kind of YouTuber paired in teams to compete in the off-road games. And so we're going up this trail called 777 in Sand Hollow in Utah. And Matt was right. I mean, this Jeep thing did not struggle at all. And most of the vehicles were unbelievably capable, but it was pretty clear that ours was almost head and shoulders better than any of the rest. And he had told me beforehand that he was just going to point to probably the worst possible line, and that's what he wanted me to try. And I said, look, if you point, I will go wherever that is. Now, his had rear wheel steering. There was only one other vehicle in the contest that had rear wheel steering, and so it could crab walk and turn on a dime. It was phenomenal. We even did some Ken Block style Jeep donuts in the middle of one of these turns. Now, on one of the obstacles, Matt said, look, just put your tire where there was a big mark and then just crawl up the side of this wall. And so far, the car had stuck to everything we put under it. And so I figured, well, that's what he said, and we went on. Now, he had also strapped an inflatable tank to the roof of this vehicle, so it looked absolutely ridiculous. He also had a disco ball helmet. I had to have a proper helmet because he's considerably shorter than I am. So my head was surrounded by the roll cage, and if we moved in any direction, I was going to get a concussion. Fortunately, the helmet saved me from that, but it became very important shortly afterwards because as we leaned up on this rock, I said, it feels like we might fall over. And he said, don't flop over, but I don't feel like I had very much control in the matter because that is precisely what we did. Now, Matt, in keeping with Jeep tradition, had a whole arsenal and array of rainbow rubber duckies throughout the Jeep that he was throwing out along with some of these t-shirts to the crowd, and he wasn't really giving me much instruction other than constantly moving the rear wheels to make it harder for me, which I appreciated. As we got up, he started to realize that he was just throwing these ducks straight in the air out the window, and he said, oh, and I knew at that point we were about to roll over. Now, fortunately, we weren't going fast and we weren't that far off of the ground that we were about to hit. But on the cleaner side of the Jeep, as opposed to the other side that had done this several times, it looked like, we went straight down. Now, of course, it was one of the slowest possible rollovers or a flop, I don't know what you call it. We fell over in this vehicle. I saw some of the commenters in the Matt's Off-Road Recovery live stream say that it looked like the Jeep was just tired. That's probably accurate. Now, of course, I've never rolled a vehicle over. I don't know what to do immediately. I'm asking Matt laying against the ground, and he said, oh, we'll turn it off. And they thought that it was leaking fuel. In fact, it was his Dr. Pepper cooler that was leaking water. Not a big deal, but I thought, this thing is really, really heavy with these giant axles and things like that. But I suppose most of the weight is on the lower side. So 3 or 4 people were able to literally just push us to be right side up. And he told me which way to steer, which way to push the throttle. And we were able to liberate ourselves rather quickly. And we honestly didn't struggle with anything else throughout the drive. Now, Christopher Michaels took over for a bit. I got to walk along and watch him enjoy himself in this Jeep, and we were leading the pack up the trail in Utah. And again, it's just an unbelievable thing to see the mountains, to see the views, to see the terrain, to see the amazing crowd of people that had shown up to watch the event, and to see how impressive Matt's Jeep was. So the bleepin' Jeep made it all the way to the top, and it was once again my turn to take over for the final obstacle. Now, this is something that they call the chute, and it is a rock crevice that climbs vertically about 5 stories. It is phenomenal to see a vehicle do it, and I was able to see that a little bit the prior day, but I had no idea how dramatic it was going to be, but clearly there was going to be no visibility. So I asked Matt, how do you do this? He said, it will stick, I promise. You pick a line first and you don't turn and we'll be okay. If you do turn, we will roll many, many times and become very, very injured. Okay, that sounds like fun. And so he set me up, told me where to put this tire that I could sort of see and I could trust where the other one was. And he said, go slow, but don't stop. Now this thing is geared so low that it just creeps along. And again, this sandy rock is so grippy that you don't really have to worry all that much. And so what looked from the outside like the most dramatic thing I've ever watched a vehicle do, from the inside looked like you were just going up a steep driveway. So we get to the top, and man, it's just like the biggest feeling of victory, so different than finishing a cannonball or getting a Lamborghini bill of sale signed or any other things that I've done in the automotive world. And what I love about the automotive hobby is that when all of us say that we love cars, we all mean something different by that. And I've given a lot of talks and things talking about that idea that it may be cannonball, it may be detailing, it may be buying and selling, it may be fixing, it may be on-roading, it may be off-roading, it may be anything. All of them are totally valid things to love about the world of cars that we enjoy. I got to just meet these guys, talk about their channels, talk about the business of YouTube, meet their sponsors, learn how they approach it, and again, get to know Matt and his team. And these are some amazing people that go out every day and actually rescue tourists and things like that have gone out, gotten a little over their skis, and they need to be recovered. And so these amazing rigs that they built, everything was so cool, so different. And so I don't know that it's something that's really on my automotive bucket list to do or build, but we then got to move on to the finals. Now, I don't know exactly what the subjective criteria were to be in the finals, but that was going to be much more like the event that they'd held last year, which was the Wrecker Games. So they were going to tie us together to another vehicle, and we were going to take turns pulling and being pulled around this little arena that they had constructed. I asked Matt, I said, do you want to drive or do you want me to? Because I saw most of the other off-road YouTubers driving their rigs, and he said, this is something where my car could be very well broken, and I'd like to be in the seat when that happens, if it happens. And I said, I would like that as well. I'll just ride shotgun and throw some t-shirts out. So I get in, and he opens up this box behind us and hands me a flamethrower. Now, he told me that he'd borrowed it from a friend and he had tried it once and that it wasn't going to be that difficult. But I had never done this, and he showed me how to arm it and that it was going to spray gasoline out over, I guess, a spark plug that would light it on fire and shoot flames. I asked how far, because the crowd wasn't very far away, and he said maybe go kind of up and backwards. Just don't spray it on the car. Now, we started to go, and of course, at the same time, he's crab walking to impress the crowd. This was all really about giving back to the fans the highest quality content and the most entertainment possible. And I'm starting to try to find a window where I could sort of try to shoot this thing. And all it's doing is super soaker shooting gasoline towards the audience, many of whom are children. And I'm not real happy that this is the way it's going, but I'm still trying to troubleshoot, shake it around a little bit, and see what can happen. And then boom! Huge flames start to come out. The crowd erupts, not in fire, but in applause, laughter, and excitement. And of course, it goes right out. Now, he had never tested this in motion because obviously the wind or the air moving over it was going to extinguish the flame rather quickly. So there were some pretty dramatic shots, but I fought this thing trying to make sure that I wasn't shooting gasoline on people as though I was also shooting it into the sand. I'm sure it evaporated, not that big of a deal, but we did get some impressive flames. We threw out some more shirts, threw out some more rubber duckies, and I think that the crowd enjoyed it. Now, of course, at the end, we don't know really if we did well, didn't do well. All we know is that everybody seemed to have a lot of fun. But come the awards ceremony, we did learn that we were the first losers. We got second place in the first off-road games from Matt's Off-Road Recovery. And this will live in the VINwiki background with all the fun artifacts of automotive enjoyment that we have here. And it was an amazing experience that I hope we get invited back next year to do again. So now it's time to head over to Auto Tempest. Whether you're downloading their app or going to their website, you will find the most unique and hard to find cars around the internet because they're pulling all the results into one place and serving it right up to you. Autotempest.com, all the cars, one search.